So we have a new mimer, the Dvar Malchus, Shabbos Parshas Toldos, Mevarchim HaChodesh, V'erev Chodesh Kislev, Tavshin Yudalim. So the Rebbe begins the title of the mimer not directly connected with Parshas Toldos. He mainly deals with the idea of Rosh Chodesh and Erev Rosh Chodesh and the significance of what Rosh Chodesh is, etc. So he says, Havin, you know, Rosh Chodesh, be able to understand the idea of the day before Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh, Yom Moed Alavan, Moed Alavan. Rosh Chodesh is the birth, that's when the new moon comes. At the moment of the birth of Levana, it's like one point. Nekuda doesn't mean like a dot that's circular, but it means the smallest amount of space that's visible. And during the first half of the Jewish month, it increases and grows and becomes more visible and more visible. And after the first half of the month, it now decreases. So after the first half, since the Moiled, it gets less and less visible until the end of the month, which is the day before Rosh Chodesh. We're in it right now. It becomes concealed and its light is completely darkened. And afterwards on Rosh Chodesh, so the birth of the Levana takes place like the smallest amount possible. We need to understand what the concept is spiritually. What does it signify, this idea? Now, of course, everything in this world has spiritual significance, and yet not necessarily by every type of matter in this world we make the spiritual significance. For example, we don't talk as much about, let's say, what happens with the sun or what doesn't happen with the sun, or any other physical phenomenon. Yet, since Rosh Chodesh and Erev Rosh Chodesh are like so crucial in the Jewish calendar. First of all, the day of Rosh Chodesh has different tefillas and had different karbanos in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, etc., etc. And the whole entire system of Yom Tovim revolves around when we establish Rosh Chodesh. And there's a whole idea of Kiddush HaChodesh in the times of Bezdin. And these days there's Shabbos Mevarchim HaChodesh. So we see that it's a very special event in this world that must reflect even more so its specialness in the spiritual realms. Also, we need to understand why it's called the head of the month. It's not called the beginning of the month, just like Rosh Hashanah, just like the head of the year. Rosh Hashanah is called the head, and it's not called the beginning of the year. So he's going to explain it in the same way. It's explained about this. It's just like the head of a person. It includes the general life force and vitality of all the limbs and organs. From the head, after it includes all the life force and vitality of all the limbs, from that comes down the life to all the limbs. So too it's in Rosh Hashanah. It includes the general life force and vitality of the entire year. And from the day of Rosh Hashanah comes down the life force and vitality and energy for the rest of the days of the year. Now, the way it comes down is also in stages. And one of the stages that breaks down to is Rosh Chodesh, and to the months. And the way the life force and vitality comes down is that initially it first breaks down. It doesn't go to 365 days a year. First it breaks down to 12 or 13 months, depending if it's a leap year or not. First, the life force from Rosh Hashanah comes down to each individual Rosh Chodesh, the head of the month. The head of the month is like the head that includes in it the life force of all the 30 days of the month. And from the day of Rosh Chodesh, just like from the day of Rosh Hashanah, it comes down the individual chayis to every single day. For this reason, it's called the head of the month, not the beginning of the month, because it functions in the same way like Rosh Hashanah functions for the rest of the year. The same thing, Rosh Chodesh includes the entire life force of the rest of the month, and it draws down from it the chayis for every day of the month. So now the Rebbe is going to say a very interesting question. We see Rosh Hashanah, we see Rosh Chodesh. So this I don't remember the last time I saw such a question. The Rebbe asks, why don't we have Rosh Hashavua in the same way? Still, when you understand, if so, that the day of Shabbos should have also been called the head of the week. In other words, the top of the next page. In other words, the question seems to be over here, if you would only use the term Tchila, Tchilas Hashana, Tchilas HaChodesh, so then you wouldn't have that question about Shabbos. Shabbos is not the Tchila, it's the seventh day of the week, it's not the first day of the week, so therefore there's no question about Tchila. But if the point is of calling it a Rosh, because it includes the chayas and the vitality and the energy for the entire period, whether year or month, Shabbos also has that same quality. Shabbos also has that same characteristic, and for that reason, though it may be the seventh day of the week, it should still be called a Rosh. Let's see it inside. In addition to the fact that the 6 weekdays prior to Shabbos become refined and are included and rise up in the day of Shabbos. In other words, that Shabbos elevates all the days prior to it. The Rebbe always brings down Vayichulu Hashemayim Ba'aretz Chol Tzvaim. Vayichulu means from the word completion, it means perfection. It means also from the word kiloyin, yearning to go upwards. In other words, that Shabbos completes, not just that it's the last, but it completes and perfects all the days prior to it. So everything that we did during the 6 days of the week, and everything that occurred during the 6 days of the week, even not that we did, but like the Rebbe a lot of times says, if a certain Yom Tov, whatever, or special occasion comes out in the middle of the week, so Shabbos brings that to the higher state. So the 6 days of the week become elevated through Shabbos. So that's not the only function that Shabbos has. Shabbos does not only function for the prior week's elevation, but rather, but also he says in line 3, the day of Shabbos is also the source for the 6 weekdays after Shabbos. In other words, like Rosh Hashanah and like Rosh Chodesh. Why is that so? Because the Zohar says that from the day of Shabbos, are all the rest of the days of the week receive their brachas. Look at the Isam and Mechilta, like it's brought down also in the Medrash, in the Mechilta. It's not just the Zohar. Sheyom HaShabbos nimshal l'ze'ev shetoyref milfanov malacharav, that the day of Shabbos is likened to a wolf that captures its prey from behind and captures its prey from in front of him. So the same thing Shabbos also takes from and relates to the previous 6 days, and it relates to the next following 6 days. I believe, by the way, the simple pshat in the Mechilta is that's referring to the halachas of Tosfos Shabbos, that one needs to add prior to Shabbos as the mitzvah of Tosfos Shabbos, and one needs to also add at the end of Shabbos as the mitzvah of Tosfos Shabbos. Anyway, what does it mean in a more spiritual sense that Shabbos is like a wolf that takes from in front and from behind? He says, in the days of Shabbos is included the 6 days that preceded it. And also in Shabbos is included the 6 days of the week that follows it. If that's the case, since the day of Shabbos includes the 6 days of the week, the 6 days of the week that's going to come up, so Shabbos should have also been called the head of the week. The Kshem Rosh Chodesh Nikra, just like Rosh Chodesh is also called the head of the month, since it's the source of life force and vitality for an entire month. So to the day of Shabbos, that's the source of life of the entire weekdays. It should be called the head of the week. So now the Maimer is going to go on at a lengthy introduction to a totally different topic, not talking about months, not talking about Shabbos. It's only going to be the last 2-3 pages of the Maimer, or maybe 4 pages of the Maimer, where he's going to come back to that. So now we're going to, put this topic on the side and enter into a whole new world, and that's the idea of Oir. Oir is base, line 15. This will be understood by first prefacing the explanation and the idea of Oir. What does Oir, light, mean in the concept of Chassidus? It's a revelation of some type of hashpah that comes from the concealment of the essence. The essence is concealed. And the ray that comes out of the essence is called light. So now the Rebbe is going to define this more clearly. Light does not mean, in the concept of Chassidus of Oir, it doesn't mean that the essence itself now it becomes transmitted into the Oir, and the Oir is now tending to reveal the essence. The essence remains hidden. The essence remains in its hidden state. Rather, from the essence comes out a ray. From it is the revelation of the flow to another. In other words, something, almost like something else, emanates and comes out from the essence, and that is the Oir, and that is what becomes revealed to another. And this ray is called Oir, and because of that, because it's not the essence itself that's being transmitted, it's just something that's resulting and coming out of the essence. Therefore, ein ha'etzem mutrad begilui ha'oir. The essence is not preoccupied with the revelation of light. It's like the sun. The sun does not occupy itself with bringing forth light. It is, and light comes out from it. Begilui ha'oir ein ha'poel shinu b'etzem. And the reverse as well, that the actual revelation of light does not impact the essence, whether or not. The essence makes no matter if the light shines from it or doesn't shine from it. Again, if the sunlight is blocked by clouds, the Mashal brings down always this, the sun doesn't feel and is not impacted by it in any way. Because the light is not the essence itself. It's not the essence itself that's becoming revealed, but rather it's a revelation coming out. It's only coming out from it, a ray from the essence. Just like in the life force of the soul that gives life to the body. It's only a ray that comes out from the essence. So there's the essence of the soul. The essence of the soul is a state of concealment. Top of page Zion. It's not in a state of being active. It's not something that is in a state of giving forth life, excuse me. It is alive and not in a life that is about giving life. It is the expression a lot of times used in Mamar Chassidus is it's chai be'etzem. It's essentially alive. It's a living thing, the essence and core of life, but it's beyond being actively engaged and involved in giving forth life. Ella, like we said before about oir, same thing applies concerning the life that comes from the Etzma Nefesh. A ray of life comes out from the etzem of the nefesh. And that ray itself has in it two components. He doesn't get into it right now. Koyach klali v'koyach prati. There's a general power of life, and then there's individual power of life, which is called chayis klalis v'chayis pratis. Lahachis saguf, to give life to the body. One is a more general life, one is more tailored towards the different parts of the body, etc. This is another example of something that's called oir, which is not the etzem. This is also called oir because it's a revelation of this hashpah that comes to another. It's a ray, this life force and vitality, the ha'ara that comes out of the essence, is something coming out of the essence of the soul to give chayes to the body, and the body is like someone else when compared to the nefesh itself. And the Rebbe says in the similar thing we find concerning physical light emanating from a light source. He says in line 7, similar to candlelight or sunlight, it's only a ray and not the essence, because it's not the sun itself that comes down into the atmosphere. It's rather a ray comes out of the sun to illuminate the light. And in a similar vein, it's not the fire of the candle that is located in every part of the room. The candle is only in one area, and from that the light spreads out, comes out of the flame, comes out of the candle, the light comes out all over. And this ray that comes out of the sun, comes out of the candle, is called oir. So now the Rebbe breaks this down even further. This concept doesn't just apply in the big picture of the nefesh, the etzema nefesh versus the chayis lahachis part of the nefesh, but also in the individual soul powers, in the individual koiches, individual capabilities of the nefesh. There's the essence of that koyach, and then there is the way it already shines to function and be active. Because he says, so too, it's in the individual soul powers, for example, the power of intellect, the essence of intellect, that's the power that gives forth ideas, is something that's concealed. The fact that we even know of the existence of koyach hamaskil, it's not that we feel the existence, we are aware of it somehow, of this power that gives forth ideas. Rather, we feel the revealed power of intellect. From this we come to the conclusion that there exists the power of haskalah, the power that gives it forth. In other words, that we deduce and we say it had to come from somewhere. My idea had to fall into my mind from somewhere. There has to be a koyach hamaskil. But I'm not directly aware of the koyach hamaskil. Our feeling and awareness is only in the revealed intellect, and only the revealed intellect, the actual ideas that came out, that's called light. As opposed to the power of intellect that is concealed. So now the Rebbe is going to introduce another interesting concept that he's going to also elaborate upon in the next paragraph, and that is the concept of the darkness versus the light. Since we're calling only the ha'ara, we're calling light, so by extension, and the result of that way of thinking is that which we cannot comprehend on its own, that which is beyond us, is darkness. So he says, line 20, V'lachein nikra b'shem choshech. Therefore, the koyach hamaskil, which is concealed, because it's concealed from us, because we have no appreciation of it, it's called darkness. Though it's a definite thing, then the power that brings forth the intellect, there's all the matters of the intellect much more than the revealed intellect. So to concerning life and vitality, and the essence of the soul, that's the essence of life, it's much greater and incomparably than how the life force expands. So therefore, it should be even brighter, it should be even more luminous. Still in all, raise the top of page Ches, Nikr B'Shem Choshech, it's still called darkness. When you're talking about in relation to being revealed to other, and like we said, the body is considered like another compared to the soul. The essence which is concealed from the other, is called, in comparison to the other, it's called darkness. The expansion of the ray that comes out revealed to the other, is called by the person that is perceiving it, it's called light. So from the perspective of the receiver, the lower part, the ha'ara, is called light. The higher part, though it must be much more powerful and greater, is called darkness. Now, let's take the same idea and now flip it around. Let's look from the perspective of the essence. How does the essence look at what is considered dark and what is considered light? Moving from this is understood, in comparison to the essence, this is the opposite. The essence is called light, it's luminous, it's bright, because that's the real it, it's the real thing. And the expansion and the extension of the ray is darkness, because it's like nothing in comparison, and definitely doesn't give out who he is. So the Rebbe says, this is like a rule. What is considered oir in the world of the essence, in comparison to the other, it's considered darkness. And that which in comparison to the essence is dark, what comes to the other, in his world, it's considered light. He's going to elaborate more upon this, but a good example of this is maybe something that's more commonly used, and that's the idea of yesh me'ayin. We call the creation, we call yesh me'ayin. One of the simplest reasons for this is, our world, we understand. It's tangible, we recognize it, we understand it, we appreciate it. The spiritual realms, Hashem, is beyond us. So we call it ayin. So we are the yesh, and that's the ayin. But if you flip it around, we know, if looking from Hashem's perspective, Hashem is a true existence, the true yesh. And everything after him, especially our world, is ayin. So, in this, using the same type of relationships, we could say the same thing with Choshech and Oyer. That, from our perspective, the revelation that we appreciate and receive, the ha'ara that we can comprehend and take in, that is light. And anything beyond that is called Choshech, darkness. Whereas from the essence's perspective, everything down here is dark. All the revelations are dark. The ha'ara is dark. And the true bright and the true light is the level of the essence. Any questions? But let's try to stick to the topic. So he goes on to explain on line 11 a very good example of this Choshech and Oyer relationship, depending your point of view. This will be understood based on the difference in thought and speech. Thought is concealed, my thoughts are concealed from another person. But speech, my speech is something that becomes revealed to another. That's the entire point of speech, that he reveals to another. But when a person looks for himself, he's not concerned about the other person. When he's talking about himself, so then thought has much more revealed in my thought. There's much more stuff going on in my mind than I can ever express in speech. And the speech is like darkness and concealment by him, because he's got to limit and cover everything in his thought to find just the words he wants to share. So it's all about darkness. And he explains, line 16, when he's thinking the idea, but just using the letters and language of thought, that's like kol ha-mitzvah seichel, so then the entire truth of the idea is shining without any type of limitations on it. When he takes the idea and he encloses it in the letters of speech, so then it conceals and hides the idea. So too it's above. Just like the 10 koichas hanefesh reflect and come from the 10 spheres of Atzilus, so too the 3 worlds of Bri, Yitzir, Asiya correspond to the 3 levushim, Machshava, Dibra, Maisa. So it's saying, Sha'olam HaBriya v'olam HaYitzira Shem bedugmas, Machshava v'Dibra, the worlds of Bri and Yitzira correspond to thought and speech. In Olam HaBriya, Nikra b'Shem Choshech, v'olam HaYitzira b'Shem Oyer. The world of Bri is called darkness, and the world of Yitzira is called light. Like it's known in the explanation, the one who forms light and creates darkness. Yoitzer is the world of Yitzira. That we're calling light. Bria we're calling as darkness. How can that be? Well, how does that make sense? Fine with the imbi. Though the world of Bria is higher than the world of Yitzira, top of page test, that the world of Bria is only the beginning of the yesh. And the world of Yitzira is from the word it's formed. It finally took some shape to it. Mikol Malkum, still in all, from our perspective, from the look down here, Legabi Lamata, in comparison to down here below, Nikra Olam HaYitzira b'Shem Oyer, the world of Yitzira is called light. Because it's capable to shine down here below. The world of Bria, being that's only the beginning of Yesh. It's like almost like a potential for Yesh. It's not actual formed and made Yesh. So it doesn't really have a way to become revealed. Nikra b'Shem Choshech, it's called darkness. But if the perspective is turned around, we're not looking from down here, if we're looking from above, but from the perspective above, it's the opposite. The world of Bria is light. And Olam HaYitzira is darkness. We'll stop over here.